from the textbook, if you need to do, is you're going to want to keep your math work with you because you're...
My daughter has been a good student. Then suddenly, in the 4th grade, she'd the bed, getting her to complete her homework was it's as overnight. School. After she brought home on a math test, we requested with her.
My concern is when she math test up again, which is she pulls, okay, what did you do wrong? And she seems to absolutely know her well enough to where she's testing is
Not where she should
way
be.
below. One of the things I've just been thinking about is, you know, we had a very frank talk the other night before she fell asleep, and but she just kind of said, I said, well, describe to me how you feel in class on, because as I said, it's as if she now sometimes she's not here, but when she is here, she's not here, and clearly there's talking going on and whatnot. But I said, up at, you know, it's and she said, I look up and I'm not interested.
Really? My daughter's in law school right now, and Scout, everybody who gets to law school has to be pretty smart to get there, right? So it's a lot of people who are really smart in law school, and my daughter is hit for the first time. It's really for her. Truthfully, you're building your character right now. You're building that perseverance and that sense of I want to do my best.
Now freeze. Look at that face right there. I know that face. That face is saying, this is bullshit. Called school is bullshit. Now, later that night, after this conference at home, I'll tell her that school seems meaningless now. Later, applying to college or when she's looking for a job, she'll understand what it's all for. She needs to take this seriously now because one day, she'll all make sense. But after 2 years working on this film, I now see these things that I've told my daughter and my son a lie. The idea of enduring the of standardized tests, traditional homework, lectures, build the kind of character in them that will one day lead to a happier life may no longer be true. Consider this economist out of MIT who argues that kids who will go on to do well in school and graduate from college won't necessarily be able to find a job. Most parents today grew up in a world which saw the U.S. economy grow and median income grow with it. And that's always been till here. Curiously, around the 1980s, the economy had grown, but middle-class income had not. In essence, the U.S. economy is now able to produce more wealth while hiring fewer and fewer people. And this is troubling, particularly for college graduates. In addition to being saddled with record levels of debt, 53% of all recent college graduates either can't find a job they could have just as easily have found if they'd skipped school altogether. This trend, according to The Economist, is not because of the recession. It's not because China is stealing all of our jobs. It's because of a stark shift in technology that's probably best illustrated in an event that occurred back in 1997.
Garry Kasparov is one of the world's all-time great chess players. He played a series of matches against an IBM supercomputer called Deep Blue, and in 1997, Deep Blue beat him, not by a lot, pretty narrow margin, but at that point, the world's best player was no longer a human being. The story I've heard is that the supercomputer geeks at IBM were looking around for the challenge after Deep Blue beat Kasparov, because computer chess just became uninteresting. And the story goes, one of the IBM executives or responsible for thinking about this was in a bar one night, and he noticed that everyone in the dining room got up in the middle of dinner, left their half-eaten steaks on their plates, and ran into the bar to watch TV. And he thought some amazing sporting event was going on. It turns out they ran in there to watch Jeopardy, because Ken Jennings was in the middle of an amazing run as a Jeopardy champion. He won 73 times in a row, took home more than $3 million, and became kind of a folk hero in America, because he really did appear to have been genetically engineered and raised from birth by ninjas to play the game of Jeopardy. And at that point, the story goes, the IBM exec said, I know what our next challenge is. We're going to build the Jeopardy playing supercomputer.
And welcome everyone to a very special Jeopardy event. This is Watson.
I get a phone call and they said, IBM built that computer to beat you at Jeopardy. Would you be up for this? I'm like, yes. You know, this is like the greatest thing I've ever heard. This is what the future seemed like to me as a kid. You know, robots would be playing on TV game shows, you know? But also, I had like a pretty good idea that I was gonna win. I was a computer programmer before I went on Jeopardy, so I'd taken like artificial intelligence classes at college. And I knew that there was no computer out there that could do what you would have to do to win at Jeopardy. You know, computers are terrible at understanding all language. But Jeopardy clues are worse than most. They've got double meanings and puns and literary allusions and red herrings. You know, there's a lot of dots that have to be connected, you know, a lot of intuition going on. And computers are bad at making those kind of leaps.
Four-letter word for the iron fitting on the hoof of a horse or a card-dealing box in a casino. Watson.
What is issue?
You are right. You get to pick. Wanted for killing Sir Danvers Carew. Appearance pale and dwarfish. Seems to have a split personality.
Who is Hyde?
Hyde, yes. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, either one acceptable. You're now in the lead with 1,400.
Who is Michael Phelps?
Yes, go.
What is Event Horizon? Who is Grendel? What is The Last Judgment?
Correct. Go again.
You know, I was standing to Watson's right, and Watson actually has a little mechanical thumb. So I can hear this sort of insectoid clicking. And as his score mounted, you know, I remember thinking, you know, this is it. You know, it's sort of like, I sort of felt like, you know, some 80s on the assembly line, looking at the robot who had replaced him on the welding machine. I thought my job of knowing things was not going to be replaceable by a computer. And yet, here it is, you know, I'm obsolete, and I'm obsolete on national television. So maybe game show contestant first information age job to be made obsolete by our computer overlords, but I feel like it's not going to be the
This is a jobs report that appeared on the Forbes website, and it's just kind of a looking report about corporate earnings. The only thing interesting about it to me is that it was generated entirely by an algorithm. There was no human being involved in producing this or writing it or editing it. The company's called Narrative Science, and what they do is take a body of facts, in other words, all the details of corporate earnings, and they write a prose narrative about it. And if you read these, they are perfectly clean, clear English prose. Now, only a few years ago, we couldn't do this. If you wanted to have something written, you had to have a human being in that. And the consequence that I spend a lot of time thinking about is, what are people going to do for a living when their muscle power really isn't valued anymore because we have all kinds of muscle accelerators? And then their mental power is not as valued anymore because we have these astonishing digital technologies that can do mental things, cognitive things that we used to previously require people to do.
Very soon we're going to get to a world where, you know, a vast chunk of the American middle class has a job that can be a formerly safe job that can be done by a computer or a robot. What happens to society when hundreds of millions of people have that aimless, rudderless feeling of, you know, I've been replaced by a very small box or a very short shell script? I don't know if there's a solution.